There are several important preferences that affect the import process. In this video, you'll learn what they are. I'm in the Import window, and I'll select Lightroom Preferences. If I were on a PC, that would be Edit Preferences. And here in the Preferences window, under the General tab, under Import Options, I'll walk you through the various options here. So the first option, Show Import Dialog when a memory card is detected. If this is selected, if you hook up a card reader to your computer or put a card into the card reader, the import dialog will open automatically. If you don't want this to happen, deselect this option. So the next option, Select the Current Previous Import Collection during import, is a new import option in Lightroom 5. Let me explain how this works. I'm going to have to leave the preferences and the import window to show how it works. Okay, so if it's selected right now like it is, and that's the default setting, let me close this and go out of the import window. Over here in the library module, on the left-hand side under catalog, this is where you will end up. Under previous import, all your images will show up here in the preview area. Now I'm going to go back over to the import window and back to preferences. If I deselect this, it will not go to that collection. It will go automatically to the All section in the catalog. It just saves you a step if you don't want it to go to the previous import and just go to all your images on the import. It's going to be personal taste, but you do have a choice of how this is handled on import now. Okay, so the next option, Ignore camera-generated folder names when naming folders. So if you select it, Lightroom will not use the folder names that are generated by the camera. And that can actually be fairly annoying. The cameras can generate a lot of folder names that can be confusing. So you may want to go ahead and select that and just have Lightroom ignore those folders and just use the folder name you give to your import. Now the final import option here, treat JPEG files next to RAW files as separate photos. This is fairly important only if you're shooting RAW plus JPEG, which a lot of us do. If you select this, if you treat the JPEG files as separate photos, now you're going to have both a JPEG and a RAW file in your Lightroom catalog. And that can get a little confusing because they are the same image, except they are saved in different file formats. Now, this is a personal preference, but if you find that it's annoying to have a JPEG and a RAW file next to each other, deselect this, then Lightroom will just treat the JPEG as a sidecar file, and only the RAW file will appear in the Lightroom catalog. You're not getting rid of your JPEG file, you're just not recognizing it when you're in Lightroom. So over here under the File Handling tab in the Preferences window, there's the way that Lightroom handles DNG creation. And I'm not going to go to all the details here. The default generally is fine for most people. The way that it handles the file extension, compatibility, JPEG preview, this is all pretty much you can stick with it with good results. However, I do want to point out one thing here under Import DNG Creation, and that's here under Embed Original RAW File. That is not selected on default. And what it means, if you do select it, it means that not only will Lightroom generate a DNG, but it will also embed your original file into that DNG. It'll make a huge file because now you basically have two RAW files. On the other hand, you've kept the integrity of your original RAW file within the container of the DNG. So there is an argument for that. For people who are saving their original RAW files in a separate location and they're confident that those are going to be saved, and you don't want to ever throw original RAW files, in my opinion, this is probably not the best option because it does really increase the file size. So this is by no means all the preferences, and we'll get through all the other preferences in other videos, but these are the preferences that are relevant when you import images into Lightroom.